Gonna start you off with a table of contents here today. This is gonna be more like an on the run session here, not a singular shoe or gear review, although I do have a couple of things to talk about here. Also wanted to share some thoughts on how I'm getting back into running, what the shoes are that I'm choosing that I feel are best for coming back. First up, we're gonna have initial thoughts on the SCARPA Golden Gate LT. I do have 1 or 2 runs in this shoe, plus a couple of hikes, walks in it, so slightly familiar, but I do want to get maybe a couple more runs in it before I do a full review, but I'll go over some details here, fit and sizing, initial impressions, and have a follow-up a little bit later down the road. If you see my recent videos, you'll know that I am back to running and did choose a few shoes early on to do some actual on-the-run reviews in. I'll talk about why I chose those particular models, what I will be running in next, including the SCARPAs here today, as well as what is coming in the pipeline and why. As my recovery ramps up, my feeling in the legs improves, I'll be able to get into a little bit more serious trails, but don't want to push it right away, so that is the main factor. Also, some continued apparel testing. I've got my Foehn shorts here, along with a new and fun energy jelly tucked away in the shorts here. Let's start off with the Golden Gate LT, and this is definitely going to be an informal on-the-run session here because I brought my index card with the specs from the ACT C.1. I had written everything out for the SCARPA and just grabbed the wrong card off my desk. So it's gonna be straight off memory here, and on the screen I'll put up any mistakes that I make. But check out that ACT Running C.1 review while you're at it. Great road shoe. 10.7 ounces here with the LT. I've got a US 10 1/3 EU 43.5 here. This is a quote-unquote LT, which I believe means light trails, door-to-trail shoe here, and certainly a more comfort-oriented fit, especially in the toe box compared to the last SCARPA I ran in, the Spin Ultra 2. Sizing is one of the main aspects I did want to cover here because at 43.5 here in SCARPA, I've definitely found my official accurate SCARPA sizing. I've been running in what they call a US 10 previously, the Spin Ultra 2 and the Golden Gate ATR 2, US 10 EU 43, and while they've been okay, definitely notice a little bit of snugness, especially at the front edges of the toe box with the Spin Ultra 2, and a little bit in front of the toes with the ATR 2. Going up this half Euro size now, certainly much more comfortable and I feel accurate sizing for me, so I am gonna specify 43.5 for my SCARPA testing going forward. I also wanted to note that I have been paying attention to EU sizing across the board, and I've really dialed into an EU 44 for La Sportiva. I do have a bunch of their models in EU 43.5, which I find a little bit more comfortable than my SCARPA 43s, but also a little bit tighter than this SCARPA 43.5 that I'm running in. So based on my testing and the models that I have, I do find that SCARPA runs about a half size larger compared to La Sportiva, i.e. the SCARPA 43.5 tends to fit a little bit larger than the La Sportiva 43.5. Now this is where I may screw up the specs here, but I think I am correct here. Again, here's the correct numbers up on the screen if I did misremember that there. Definitely a noticeable contour under the arch here. I noticed the heel sitting a little bit lower, feels a bit flattish underfoot, but not necessarily in a bad way. I'll talk about the arch contour in a close-up coming up here. Just feels to me like there's a little bit more of that contour extending to the front edge of the bottom of the heel, if that makes any sense. the contour is not just pushing up under the middle of the shoe, but a tiny bit under the rear, and the rear part of the heel does feel a little bit lower. Midsole compound is a bit of an upgrade from Scarpa's previous door-to-trail model, which I really love, the ATR2. That one compression molded EVA. The LT here, compression molded EVA with 20% P-backs. Now this shoe here is a little bit higher than stack than the ATR2. Also, it does feel a little bit stiffer around the middle, not just that contour under the arch. Feels like a little less flex around there compared to the ATR2, so it's hard to derive any huge noticeable benefit from the addition of 20% P-backs, but it does feel good underfoot, I have to say. Feels like more underfoot than the ATR2 if you want to compare door-to-trail shoes across the brand. Spin Ultra 2, if you recall, is a full TPEE midsole, but not a soft variety either. That was a shoe used by David Hedges to set the Nolan's 14 FKT, so long distance protection and durability, more of the staples of that flavor of TPEE compared to, say, softness and bounciness. Scarpa is a mountaineering based brand after all, so you're not going to get those marshmallowy midsoles from them. Quick look at fit and sizing here. You can probably notice this is a pretty wide for Scarpa, pretty standard for most brands toe box here. This is not your typical mountaineering style, perhaps Euro style pointed toe box up front. Quite a bit of space all around. Again, I talked about having my correct size in Scarpa now. 43.5 EU for me. Spin Ultra 2 I have in that 43, which is listed at a US 10, which is my kind of US upsize for ultra running. It is called the Spin Ultra 2, but that shoe a little bit shorter and definitely more narrow in the front. When I put this shoe on side by side with the Spin Ultra 2, I'm totally squeezed in that one. And I am wearing thinner socks. You could probably see I'm wearing my mid-weight Injinji toe socks here that no possible way that I would be able to run an Injinji sock, even a lightweight one, in that Spin Ultra 2. Just too narrow, just too tapered up front. I am having a little bit of squeezing with that Spin Ultra 2 model, not this one here. This is certainly very comfortable and a toe box that you want to have in a light or door-to-trail model. You can also see the wide throat spacing here. Again, I have a medium width foot, medium volume, and it's pretty wide here. So for a light trail shoe, this squeezes my foot down from the sides pretty well. I like this setup much more than a narrower lace throat. Then I could feel in those types of designs my foot moving around a little bit more over the midsole. This one is really dialed in. Something that I found also with the ATR2, Scarpa tends to have really great fits in their shoes, and I think that makes them more usable beyond light trails. In fact, this is called a light trail shoe, but I mean, you can look at this outsole here. That is a burly outsole. That is not a light outsole by any means. Maybe in Europe or in the terrain in Italy where they would call it light trails. Certainly not around here in a shoe that's designed for door to trail. You would see something more closer to a road type of outsole than what you have here with this. These are quite deep lugs, quite burly. This is a legit trail outsole no matter what they want to call it. You'll also notice I do have some lace locking going on here with that healthy contour under the arch. I do feel like this rear portion of the heel is sitting a little bit lower in this shoe, a little bit down there, although I find that the contour probably continues a little further back than typical. So I notice it at the front edge of my bottom of the heel, if that makes sense. The contour tends to go from here, and then it's quite prominent here. So pretty full under the middle of the foot, a little bit back here. But I do tend to feel like I'm sitting back a little at the rear of the shoe, and I notice a little bit of heel slippage if I don't do this lace locking here. So the lace locking solves it no problem here. It is a comfortable lace lock. It does seem like this could be a little bit wide. I noticed this in some other shoes when the opening is quite wide from the rear to the front here. That can be a reason to lace lock as well. So I've got the lace lock going on here, and that completely resolves any heel slippage, and it feels quite comfortable because they have a very comfort oriented tongue here, plenty of height, nice and cushy, so no pressure at all from this extra row of lacing here. It is very comfortable shoe here. Quick shoe flex here, don't want to forget that. There's definitely an element of tension around this middle portion of the shoe. That area where I feel like the arch contour is located, pretty much under here, that also feels like a stiff area of the shoe, less flex around there. Out of the box, they felt really stiff. As I've been walking in them throughout my recovery, doing actually already a couple light runs in them, it has softened up a little bit. So this is a shoe, if they feel a little bit firmish out of the box, you definitely want to have few runs in them, few walks in them, perhaps even before you run in it, to kind of open it up a little bit. But as you can see, flex up here, it's quite nice up front. So I've been running on a light grade uphill here, and I find this flex at the forefoot here at the toes, it's not a crazy rocker up front. It's pretty standardized rocker here, but there's no plate in the mix. Light trails again, easy flex when you're climbing uphill. Just a little bit more tension on the middle of the shoe, similar to what I found in the Spin Ultra 2, and that's probably an element of design across all SCARPA models. Being a mountaineering, mountain running oriented brand, even in the absence of a plate, they want to give you kind of a more solid area under the middle of the foot for that protective aspect. So a little flex up front, not so much over here. Little bit of tail rocker over here. Again, I feel like the heel is just sitting deeper in there, but I don't notice this tail rocker too much. It's just similar to the front here, pretty even sweep up there, and just a light sweep in the heel, good for light trails. As I'm going to go down a little bit moderate descent here, this will be nice and smooth. So with the feel of this SCARPA Golden Gate LT, protective aspect underfoot, also the very secure fit, and that touch of stiffness around the middle of the shoe, this is a little bit of an upgrade compared to shoes that I've been reviewing straight out the gate as I get into my recovery here. I wanted to choose shoes that were mainly soft and comfortable underfoot. Again, I'm trying to limit impact, or at least ramp up the impact on my legs gradually as I come back here. First shoe up was the Alta Mesa 300 V2. That shoe I really like because it was very soft underfoot. It is very soft underfoot, and comfort is excellent. A little bit more spacious fit, and I think not as dialed of a fit compared to this LT2. Overall, just I wanted to have more comfort straight out of the gate, and that shoe was it. Next up was the Aero Glide 4 Gravel from Salomon. Again, extreme bounciness, extreme cushion, in fact, underfoot with that one. Maybe a little bit too much, but I did run a little more carefully in that shoe. The bounce of that ETPU midsole, just a lot to handle, a lot to be aware of. Could throw you here and there if you're not careful. Certainly with not as much upper hold in that shoe, certainly compared to the SCARPA here, and even not as good as that 300 V2, but very fun and bouncy ride to run in. Certainly would want to keep that one on lighter trails. It does have a lighter outsole suited to gravel or lighter running, unlike this SCARPA here, which is legit trail running outsole. But for real lighter trails, gravel, in fact, as its name, that is a great shoe, and my second choice out of the box. Third review just posted this morning is the ACT Running C.1. That's a road model. I did get a chance to walk quite a bit during my inactivity period, and as I ramped up in some lighter, flatter running, that was a good choice to mix in some, again, flat roads, reducing the up and down as I ramp back up. Love the midsole on that one. It feels so soft, road dampening, adaptive underfoot. I just had no sensation of impact at all. Certainly in that review, I was running very hard sections of concrete on the green belt here in town, and it felt very comfortable throughout. So that was my third pick. Again, all three more oriented towards smooth comfort on the run. A little bit of step up here with the SCARPA, and I have some other shoes in for test that I have to catch up on. I have the Pursuit 3 from Topo, also the Innovate Trailfly V2. Did a little bit of a hiking session in them, but they feel a little bit more naturally oriented. Feet have to do a little bit more work in those, and if I'm not accustomed to that, that would be an aspect where it might introduce more impact, more load on my legs if the feet are not used to it. So the Innovate shoe certainly rides flatter, even though it's not a zero drop, it just feels more naturally oriented. The Topo Pursuit 3, even though zero drop, very comfortable and quite supportive underfoot. So those will be in the near future. I got those earlier, but again, I'm trying to pick my shoes according to my recovery ramp up. I've also got a couple other speed oriented shoes that those are the ones that I want to wait a little bit before I get into, because I really would like to push those shoes in terms of terrain, steeper stuff, ups and downs, and that is the Hoka Zenal 3 and also the Adidas Speed 2. I have run more miles in the Speed 2, just about to get into the review before I had to take that break. Zenal 3, love the feel of that shoe, but it is very lightweight, very thin underfoot, extremely flexible, and I want to make sure I'm up for the task to run in that shoe. So that one will be maybe a little bit far off in the future as I get back, although I'm feeling pretty great these days. A couple of other shoes that I did the hike in, ultra shoes, in fact, the Adidas Speed Ultra 2 and the Hoka Rocket X Trail. Those two I had enough running miles in to talk about on a little hike video earlier, but still want to run in them some more, give them the more full review treatment. So those will be maybe a little further off in the future again, as the legs feel better and as I could really go ultra fast and kind of pick up the pace and test those. So I've got my Wear Foehn shorts here again. I wore these in my ill-fated AB test run, the Kip Summit Max and the Speed Goat 7. Took a hard spill. Shorts survived. I alluded to the fact that they had quite interesting and extensive gel storage on the sides. And I've got two gels here. I've got two gels here. And there's also interior sleeves along the back, two in the back and two in the front here to carry even more gels. And I am using two of the three inner loops to hold the sleeves on each side here. So that's 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the rear. So you could carry like 10 gels in these shorts here. I do feel a tiny bit of bounce from the gels, but again, these are just situated on the outside of your shorts here. They're not like tucked into some integrated waistband like other kind of ultra shorts. So it's really quite minimal for that type of design and really not irritating me or not an issue at all. Let me grab one of these. In fact, there's an overflap here. Pretty easy pulling out. Got a SIS here. That wasn't what I'm looking for. Tuck that one back away here. Slide it into, there's a little elastic bungee loop. So there's 3 of them on each side. That kind of holds it from flopping side to side. And a little overflap here. See how I just took that out and put it away on the run. No problem. All right, here we go. What am I fishing for? The areas for the gels are a little bit longer in the front of the 3 loops. The middle and the rear one, pocket kind of tapers off, so better for smaller type stuff. Here we go. Pao Labs Energy Jelly Yuzu So size-wise, this package is just a little bit shorter. In these Foehn shorts here, they fit more easily in the back two of those loops, whereas the SIS gels are 40 grams, a little bit taller. They fit better in the front loops on the side, and also those interior sleeves along the rear. Pao Labs energy jellies here. Asian American inspired flavors here. I saw these guys out at TRE. The packaging looked super fun. I don't know if they were specifically aimed at kids, but I've got an 8-year-old daughter now, and I just thought, for one, she would love the look of these cartoon guys. She loves all that kind of stuff. But the flavors, I knew she would love. They've got lychee, strawberry matcha, and this yuzu here. Oh, 25 grams of carbs here, and they call it a jelly, not a gel, and that is the texture, consistency of it. It's not liquidy and syrupy, say, like most of the normal gels out there. It is kind of like a jelly, like you can see. I'm not falling out just yet. Yuzu is great. Strawberry matcha, awesome. Lychee is the household favorite, certainly for my daughter and certainly for my wife as well, I think. That's why I've got the yuzu here. I'm not allowed to take those lychee oolong flavors for myself. My daughter's saving the best for last, so check these out if you have flavor fatigue. A lot of these gels, neutral flavor or kind of weird standard flavors, limeish, orangish, all kinds of chocolatey, whatever. If you want something different, and certainly if you're looking for a different kind of texture, the jelly here, not quite as globby as, say, like a Morton. Again, Morton doesn't have any of that flavor here. It's got that jelly type consistency here, which is a little thicker. Palate fatigue in terms of texture and flavor. And 25 grams here. Also, if you have a little athlete in your household, it could be something fun for them to try out. So Pao Labs, highly recommended by the entire Humble Running household. Finishing up this yuzu here. Good. I'm gonna check out these pockets here. So got my SIS here. There's these 3 inner loops here on each pocket, each side pocket. There's also 2 lower loops on this side. So you'll route your gel through one of these in the upper and one of these on the bottom there. And then you'll kind of put this over flap here. So that's one. Again, the SIS gels tend to fit. Oop, I got it in the wrong one there. Got in the rear one. The SIS gels tend to fit a little bit better in this front pocket here as it doesn't taper. This one a little bit shorter will fit in the middle, and maybe something smaller here in the rear, or you could kind of angle it down that way. This side's a little bit different setup. You can see I've got 2 SIS gels here. This one fits pretty well in the middle. The tops are a little bit longer. You could fold these over. This one only has in the bottom, it's got one of these loops here. So perhaps if you wanted to stuff something in here that was a little bigger, maybe a buff or gloves. On the other side, it's separated into 2 little tabs here, 2 little bungees in the lower section, but you have the same kind of 3 gel, what do you call these, holsters up here on the top here. So you can easily get 6 here, 3 in each side. There's also, well, let me try this. There's also these rear interior pockets here. And I find, let me take this out of my mouth. You've got 2 rear sleeves here. They're a little tricky. I wouldn't want to do this necessarily on the run, but say as you're down the line storage, there's a sleeve here and one here. And I noticed this when I did my Sun apparel run. Solomon Shorts Sense Aero 7-inch had a similar one, and I thought, wow, they actually work pretty well. So you get one here, and there's a similar one here, and those will be, if you don't have 2 extra for down the line, grab those after you eat up all these. There are also 2 in the front here, but they're like right here, which is in this area over here. And I find that they're a little bit too close to the center. I don't like these. I tried them here a little bit before this run, and I thought they were a little too loose, like flopping around here. I don't know if they would want to kind of position those a little further on the hips or just leave those out entirely. Maybe they're not best for gels. Maybe you can put something, I don't know what, something smaller in these ones, but there's two similar kind of interior sleeves there, which I don't like for gels. So for me, 3, 3, 6, 7, 8, I mean, that's enough to store in shorts. I thought I had forgotten a gel back there, losing track of where I'm putting them in my pocket. So I ate one. I've got one here. I've got one in this side. Yeah, just one. And I put that other one in the rear here. So lots of pockets all around, enough that you could lose track, in fact, of where you put your stuff. I did forget to mention there is standard rear zip pocket in the back, and also on the left side hip pocket, there is a key loop in there. Thank you for tuning into this one. Thank you for watching Humble Running. Please like and subscribe. Again, more to come on this SCARPA shoe, as well as the other shoes I have for test in the pipeline. A little bit of a quick look here. I am gonna run in these more this week and have a follow-up down the line. Hello to my friends and family. Lots of them over there in the Philippines. If you're looking for that Asian-inspired flavor out there on the trails, check out Pao Labs for sure. Again, we love it, our entire household. Fantastic option for the runner in your life and the kids in the runner's life as well. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time out on the trails.